we're going to discuss how to graph reflections in the coordinate plane. This is the second transformation that we've learned, and it's part of the geometry unit, so our color is still pink. A reflection of a geometric figure is a transformation that flips a figure across a line in the coordinate plane. It creates a mirror image of a figure on the opposite side of the line. So how do I reflect? There are two ways that we can perform a reflection. The first method says to first predict or determine which quadrant your image will end in, and then for each point on the pre-image, count the distance to the axis of reflection, count the same distance from the axis but in the opposite direction and plot the new point, and then write the coordinates of the image. So here we're graphing first and then writing the coordinates. The other method, we can determine which quadrant your image will end in, so that's the prediction step, that's the same. We write the coordinates of the pre-image, and then we apply the rules. If we're reflecting across the x-axis, we take the opposite of the y-coordinate, and if we reflect across the y-axis, we take the opposite of the x-coordinate, and then we graph the image. So this method here, we're writing the coordinates first, and then graphing the image. I'm going to do each example twice today. And the first time I do the example, I'm going to use the first method, and then the second time I work the example, I'm going to use the second method. All right, so example number 1, and this is going to be with method 1. I'm going to color code it here so you can see it. We'll call this right here method 1. Right, and then we'll call below it method 2. So we're going to start out method 1. We're going to reflect across the x-axis. So the x-axis is the axis, the horizontal axis. So let me highlight that for you. And if I reflect that shape across the x-axis, I'm flipping it over the x-axis. So think about it hopping over the x-axis. So I'm going to hop over the axis, which puts my triangle now up here in quadrant 3. So I'm going to put a little star because I think that's where my shape should end up. In quadrant 3, we know that x is negative and y is positive, which might help you if you have a multiple choice type of question. All right, so if I look at point M is 1 point away from the axis. Excuse me. So I'm going to go 1 point away from the axis, but in the opposite direction. So here M is 1 below. I'm going to plot M prime 1 above. Do the same thing for D. So I notice D is 1, 2, 3, 4 below. So I'm going to start at the axis and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 above. And then I notice N here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 below. I'm going to stay on that same line. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 above. It's really important also that you label your points as you go and connect them together. And then I'm going to write my new coordinates, M prime, D prime, and M prime. These are the coordinates of the image. So M prime is start at the origin, 1, 2, 3 to the left, so negative 3, and then up 1, so my ordered pair is negative 3, 1. D prime is at the location negative 1, negative 2, and I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, so negative 2, 4. And N prime is at the location negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and all the way up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the ordered pair for N prime is negative 5, 5. For reflection across the x-axis, still using method 1, or across the y-axis, still using method 1. The y-axis is the vertical axis, so I have to think about my shape hopping over the y-axis. I'm going to hop over the y-axis. Okay. So same method. I look at K, and K is right on the y-axis. It's 0 distance from the y-axis, so K prime is going to stay right here. Again, my prediction step. I'm thinking this is going to end up in quadrant 3, so you might want to mark that with a little star. And again, quadrant 3 is a negative and then a positive. All right, point E is 1 direction to the right, or 1 unit to the right, so I'm going to go 1 unit to the left. And that's my E prime. L is 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, so I'm going to start at my axis and go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. And that's L prime. And then P is 1, 2, 3 to the right, so start at the axis, 1, 2, 3 to the left. And there's P prime. Connect my points together. And there's my shape. Notice again I have the same shape, it's just in a different location, and it's been flipped over. Alright, so my coordinates for my image, I have L prime, E prime, K prime, and P prime. L prime is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4, left 4. And then I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, so negative 4, 4. E prime, left 1, so negative 1 from the origin, up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so negative 1, 5. K prime is on the y-axis, so my x-coordinate is 0. And I went up 1, 2, so 0, 2. Left and right, no unit, up 2 units. P prime is 1, 2, 3 from the origin in the left direction, so negative 3. And then it does not go up or down any, so the y-coordinate is 0. So that's graphing reflections using method 1. Right, now we're going to do method 2. So method 2 is where we start with the coordinates first and then make the graph. So I start by writing the coordinates of my pre-image. So I write down the coordinates that I have first. Okay? So I have N, M, and D. N is at the point negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so negative 5. M is at the point 1, 2, 3 to the left, so that's negative 3, and down 1 is negative 1. And then D prime is at the point negative 1, negative 2, and then down negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Okay? Again, I'm reflecting across the x-axis, so it's really helpful to make a prediction here. If I hop across the x-axis, think about hopping across the x-axis, my shape's going to end up in the third quadrant. The rule that we have to apply, we take the opposite here of the y-coordinates. So we're taking the opposite of these coordinates right here. So the coordinates of my image, N prime, negative 5 stays the same, the opposite of negative 5 is 5. M prime, negative 3 stays the same, the opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. D prime stays the same for x, negative 2, opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. And then I would plot my points. So negative 5, 5 is here, that's N prime. M prime is negative 3, 1, and D prime is negative 2, 4. Connect my points together, and I have my triangle. We compare method 1 and method 2. Same picture, different way to do it. Okay? Example number 2, we're going to use method 2. We're reflecting across the y-axis. So here's the y-axis. Prediction, if I jump across the y-axis, I think that my shape is going to end up over here in quadrant 3. Right, start by writing the pre-image coordinate. So I have, let's go in the same order, L prime, E prime, L, E, K, and P. These are not the primes yet. We're just writing the pre-image coordinate, no prime. So L prime, no, L, not L prime, is at point 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. E prime is at the point 1, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. K prime, left and right 0, but up 2, so 0, 2. And P prime, 1, 2, 3, but then up or down 0, so 3, 0. Okay. We're going to then apply our rule to get the coordinates of the image. And our rule says we take the opposite of x. So we're going to take the opposite of the first number in the ordered pair. So my L prime will be at the point -4, 4. E prime will be at the point the opposite of 1 is -1, and the 5 stays the same. K prime, the opposite of 0 is 0. 0 is its own opposite, doesn't really have one. 2 stays the same. And P prime, the opposite of 3 is -3, up and down 0. So I'm going to go ahead and plot those points. -4, 4, -1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4. And we label that point L prime. E prime, -1 up to 5. So that point E prime. K, 0, 2. Label that point K prime. And P, -3, 0. Connect your points together. And you're all done.